Welcome to Kaleidoscope. Let's talk. He is the dry-aged steak guy and he's on the menu of Kaleidoscope Let's Talk today. The founder of Clubhouse Steakhouse in London, Chef Azam Riyard, schooled in Sri Lanka, Trinity College to be exact, and is a cricket coach who found a rundown cricket club and decided to open a restaurant. The rest is history. A self-taught meat aficionado turned expert chef, Azam's name is synonymous with dry-aged steak across the UK and Europe, and his steak is to be tasted, to be experienced. He has been conjuring some magic with those meaty vials at the London Grill at Cinnamon Grand Colombo, and that's where I met him. Azam, welcome. How does it feel to be back in Sri Lanka?
Incredible. Come back homeland, cooking in the most prestigious fine dining restaurant in the country. The feedback has been overwhelming, the comments and everything has been overwhelming, and it's given me a slight a bit of a push into my glam side of things as well, which is absolutely brilliant. So I'm buzzing with all of this, but we just need to carry through and finish this off in a high, and being back home it's nostalgic.
Why dry-aged steak? What is it that fascinated you about dry-aged steak and to make it your signature?
I had to find a way to put food on the table at home. So I'm a cricket coach by trade. That's my main kind of a role. I found these two sauces in France which I fell in love with, and I thought, you know what, I need to bring something back to England which is slightly off the grid. And it all starts with burgers and submarines and everything else. And so when I started doing steaks, I had this pilot who came up to me and said, you need to start preserving your beef. I said, okay, that's a good word, preserving. Okay, let me look into it. Then I found this machine called the dryager, and that started this whole new ethos of me looking into something very out of my comfort zone, because I was comfortable making small burgers and stuff like that. So this basically gave me an opportunity to take forward my knowledge of beef into another level.
So have you now perfected the art of dry aging beef?
I would say yes. I know what I'm doing, from biggest cut to smaller cuts, what to go in, what not to go in, how to cook it. So yes, I would say that I have come a long way with this process, but this is a very old system which people do not have a name for. So what's happened is now it's got a global brand behind it. It's a very simple process. So yes, I call myself the dry-aged steak guy for that particular reason, and I've been endorsed by companies which I never ever would have thought would actually reach out at me, and to basically consistently put out something very good. It's important that you do understand what the process is. So yes.
Do you do anything differently to this age-old process?
I put big hinds of beef rather than smaller cuts and getting it through. So I have 7 fridges at the moment, and all of these does something. So we do have fish. So that's something I bought in this year, 2023, around mid 2023 I bought, because I'm the only dry aging fish restaurant in England as well. So it is quite unique in the aspect. So yes, I tend to experiment a bit. I push it to a number of days and just see how the flavor changes and stuff like that. The cooking time, the cooking process changes. The ingredients which I use on the aged beef is processed. It depends on how long they have been in the dry ages. So yes, there is so much things that you can play around with and understand. Okay, this is the best time to have it. This is the best way to eat it. And making sure that translates onto the plate. So
you're a Sri Lankan at heart, but now Sri Lanka was never known for its steak, so to speak. What do you bring back to the table here?
The best part of the dry aging process is there is very less blood on the plate when you cut into that beef. That we Asians love. So I thought, okay, this is something slightly different, and it's in my forte to push it to people from the Asian subcontinent. It's got flavor, it's tender, it's soft, there's no blood. This is something I can enjoy. So that kind of a feedback which I get normally is good. So bringing that to Sri Lanka, I think it was very important that people need to understand what it's all about, and that flavor profile, the sear, the smell when you bring it to the table, it's incredible.
After your visit here, what are you taking back with you?
Just understood that we can marry a lot of flavors together. So I only use Sri Lankan black pepper on my steak, even in England, so I don't use anything else. So that is signature, and it's been very clearly mentioned in our menus as well. And people, when they read it, they said, what's the Sri Lankan connection for you? I said, I'm Sri Lankan. I said, no, you're not. I am indeed Sri Lankan. So trying to do that. So now here I have replicated something. We do have like an onion chutney back home, which we use with our halloumi. Here I have done a sini sambal, which is slightly more sugary. So we call it the sini sambal. So little things like that makes a massive difference. What I've tried is making it a bit more tastier with the onions, local onions, the local Bombay onions. So it's brilliant. So it's trying to do a little bit of things like that. Using Sri Lankan green chili and red chili on our chimichurri, so making it very more authentic as well. So little things like that. If you can translate that to what we are doing, I think it's a winner.
So people are moving away from red meat, well, technically beef in particular. What does that do to your brand, though?
Like people are moving in, there are people moving back into going as a carnivore rather than a vegan or a vegetarian. So they try it for a little while, they come back into it. There are strong, we Sri Lankans have strong roots of veganism, vegetarianism, and religion, culture and everything. I think worldwide, I think I need to get this out to the world as well. Sri Lanka does have the best vegan and vegetarian options in the world, but we are made to eat meat. So we are carnivores for a reason, we got canine teeth for a reason. We humans are so prone to having meat and sausages and everything around us for centuries and centuries. So it's very important that you can translate that and get people to understand what good meat is.
What's your opinion about plant-based meat?
As long as it's not processed, I think it's edible. When you process it and put stuff into it and just make it, how would I say it? I'd rather eat beef. Because I know it comes from the source, comes from the cow on the plate, you know what you're having. Unfortunately, when you try to replicate flavor, it's not the same. So there you have to throw in a lot of ingredients to make it taste good.
So you're back in Sri Lanka at Cinnamon Grand. You were working at the Oberoi before you left in your earlier stages, where you started your hospitality career. What are your observations when you look at not just Cinnamon Grand, but generally across the board, when you look at the F&B offerings that Sri Lanka has?
I think the culinary world is a bit more vibrant now. So you want more vibrancy, more color, more flair. Good staff have left. Then the new young guns have. It takes them time to come through the ranks to understand where they want to go. But when they come to a certain place, or what I feel is everybody wants to get out of the country, unfortunately, including myself. But I had a different reason to get out of the country. Because I was married and I was getting married and I had to move out to start my family. So things like that. But if a young chef or a young F&B guy who's really good and he decides to leave the country, it's tarnishing what we are trying to achieve as well. But the service trade is not well paid. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of things happening at the same time. So we're trying to understand all of this and execute it. It's slightly difficult.
Your Clubhouse Steakhouse in London, how did that come to be, very briefly?
I'm a cricket coach. So there was this empty shell building which was just open for around 4.5 months in the year, and the rest of the time it was closed, and it was used as a community hall and weddings and all sorts. And I thought, I have this opportunity too, because I was coaching at that particular club, which I've done for a long time and I've been a part of. And I said, okay, there's an opportunity for me to start something and see how it goes. The whole Clubhouse brand started because of cricket, because of my love of the game, because I am an ambassador of the game as well, and cricket is a way of life for me. So I wanted young kids to come to the ground, have a quick grub, go back with their parents and have that community aspect of things. That's how it all started. COVID came and all the main brands were shut, and I was the only online presence. So that made me, and people was like, wow, okay, we have been ordering really bad burgers all this time, but we have this option. let's go there. We were selling 200, 300 burgers a night.
Now, you didn't have any formal training as such, but you decided to jump into this cooking space, which is very competitive. What challenges did you encounter along the way?
That I have so much to learn. There are brilliant chefs like Peter Kuruita, then Darshan Munidasa, which is over here from Sri Lanka as well. We got a variety of brilliant chefs. There's so much to learn. I'm just a minnow in the game. I'll be very honest. It's about understanding flavor for me. It's about understanding flavor, and if I can replicate that in what I am doing in my way, I think it's something very, very unique as well. So without any hospitality or F&B experience, I would say, but hospitality, it nailed in my head when I started over here. Customer is king. Forget everything else. That stood in my head. So whatever you do, remember they pay your bills, then it's easy. It's about a lot of educating myself. I did by reading. I still have about 250, 300 cookbooks from a lot of chefs, and I read a lot. Then I started reading about dry aging to master what I was doing as well. Then understanding the little bits of different nitty-gritty stuff I need to do to perfect it. So listen, what I do is very simple. I would love to inspire the next generation of chefs come forward and say, you know what, I want to be Azam who can do this. Because the market is massive. As long as you can be unique in what you're doing, which I am, it helps you to grow. There is no golden rule saying that nobody can become a chef. As long as you got flavor in your mind and understand how to put them together, anything is possible.
So you said you'd like to open a steakhouse in Sri Lanka. Have you thought this through?
Since I've been here, and the response I've received is unbelievable. I think there's a massive market in the game, and if we can, if I can replicate what I do in England, I think it'll be a winner in Sri Lanka. There is always competition. More competition is better, but you need to be niche. If you're doing something niche, give it that special razzmatazz and make it look good.
So what's next? What are we to look forward to from you?
Let's try and open a restaurant in Sri Lanka. But I want a bit more vibrance. I want flair. I want music. I want people to come and come into a restaurant thinking, oh wow, okay, we are going in for a night out. So it's not only eating and going home and sleeping. We come here, have a good time, then we go probably to a club next door or something like that. Have a long night instead rather than just finishing and going home. So nicely dressed, nicely smelling people, then the steak hits your face, the smell, the aroma, everything has to be married together. So if we can create that, I think London will be buzzing every night.
May the meat be with you.
Thank you very much.
And good luck. Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn. If you like our show, don't forget, you've got to subscribe and follow.